You didn't arrive here by accident. Something within you brought you to this moment. Not the part of you that scrolls or clicks out of habit, but the deeper self, the part that feels change long before it becomes visible. That ancient, persistent presence within you. It knows, it's always known. And as these words find their way to you, a quiet recognition may begin to rise. Perhaps recently, your world has started to feel unstable. The familiar now feels foreign. What once made sense no longer adds up. It's as if life is being unstitched thread by thread. But consider this, in the symbolic language of the soul, chaos is not always a sign of destruction. Often it is the sacred prelude to creation. What if what you're feeling isn't an end, but a necessary unraveling, a divine dismantling making way for a deeper truth to emerge? Carl Jung often said that the unconscious doesn't speak in logic. It speaks in symbols, emotions, dreams, and synchronicities. Before a great transformation, the soul doesn't announce itself with clarity. Instead, it stirs, it disrupts, it begins to whisper. And if you don't listen, the whispers grow louder until life itself begins to crack around the edges. But here's the truth. It's not breaking down. It's breaking open. This message is your invitation to listen, to remember what your deeper self has always known. In the unfolding sections that follow, I'll walk beside you through 7 sacred signs that your life isn't falling apart. It's transforming. And if even a few of these signs resonate with you, then your soul has already begun its next chapter. Let's begin. Sign 1. You begin to question everything you once believed to be true. Not from a place of rebellion, but from a quiet, sacred need to realign. You begin to examine long-held beliefs, relationships, identities, even your deepest goals. Something within you no longer accepts what once felt like certainty. You are not confused. You are awakening. Just like a seed splits underground before it ever touches sunlight, your inner self is breaking open. Carl Jung taught that this is not a breakdown, it's an initiation. The inner structures of the psyche begin to dissolve because they no longer hold who you are becoming. Everything you once built your life on begins to feel too small. This is not a crisis. It's a sacred cracking, a clearing. You're not being punished. You're being purified. Your soul refuses to live in confinement any longer. And yes, it hurts. Old roles, old masks, old dreams, they fall away. But in their place rises something wild, something free. What once felt stable now feels false. But this death is not an end. It is a rebirth. You're not falling apart. You're shedding what you've outgrown. Sign 2. You begin to feel a disconnection from the person you used to be. It doesn't arrive in lightning strikes. It comes as a whisper. You notice it quietly, through your disinterest in things you once loved. Conversations feel dull. Rituals feel meaningless. You look around and feel out of place. It's not that the world has changed. You have. This is the shedding of the old persona. You're no longer content to wear masks for approval. You're tired of performing roles. And the world begins to feel like a stage you no longer want to act on. This isn't apathy. It's alignment, according to Jung. This is individuation. The soul separating from the ego, the false self. You may feel lonely, but that loneliness is sacred. It makes space for your becoming. As the outer layers fall away, new questions rise. Who am I without the masks? What kind of life honors my truth? You might find yourself drawn to silence, to solitude, not as withdrawal, but as preparation. You are listening for something deeper, and that listening is the beginning of everything real. Sign 3. Your priorities begin to shift dramatically. What once seemed essential, titles, achievements, approval, suddenly feels distant, as if the engine that once drove you has gone quiet. This is not disinterest. This is depth. You begin to seek nourishment, not validation, aliveness, not applause. You question what success even means, and realize that most of your goals were written for a version of you that no longer exists. This is the unraveling of illusions. The hunger for something more authentic begins to burn. You start to measure fulfillment not in outcomes, but in inner peace, not in how you're perceived, but how you feel. And yes, this shift is uncomfortable. You may feel like you're floating, untethered. But that drifting is holy. It means you're leaving behind maps that no longer lead to home, and as you let go, new paths arise. Forgotten passions resurface. Lost parts of yourself whisper their names again. You're not becoming less ambitious. You're becoming more aligned. Sign 4. Your intuition grows louder than ever before. There's a subtle voice rising within you. It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. But it knows. It leads. And it never lies. Carl Jung saw the self as the totality of the psyche. And when you move closer to that self, your intuition becomes a guide. You begin to feel what's true before it can be explained. You walk into spaces and sense their energy. You meet people and know their intentions without words. You face decisions and feel clarity in your chest instead of your mind. This isn't magic, it's remembering. Your intuition was always there. You were just too distracted to hear it. Now, in the stillness born of upheaval, it rises like a tide. It leads by resonance, not reason. And the more you honor it, the more life aligns around you. What once felt confusing now feels obvious. You don't argue with your knowing. You follow it. You no longer chase clarity from the world, because you've found it within. Sign 5. A deep hunger for growth and transformation awakens within you. Not as a trend, not as self-help, but as soul work. You're no longer satisfied with surface answers. The old ways of coping feel empty. You begin to explore books, teachings, and conversations that feed your inner world. You're not learning to impress. You're remembering who you truly are. Jung called this the individuation process, the becoming of the whole self. You stop chasing improvement and start choosing evolution. You're not adding layers. You're shedding illusions. The questions that rise are different now. What am I meant to become? What am I still hiding? What parts of me are waiting to breathe? This is not ego, it's essence. You may begin to stand alone, not in isolation, but in integrity. The masks drop. The false comforts lose their grip. And what rises in their place is truth. Sign 6. You begin to break free from toxic patterns and relationships. What once seemed normal now feels unbearable. The people you once tolerated now feel heavy, not because they've changed, but because you have. You begin to recognize who drained your energy, who reflected your fears, who kept you small. This clarity isn't cruel, it's sacred. Your soul is drawing a line. You no longer wish to negotiate your peace. You no longer apologize for your boundaries. You begin choosing yourself not out of ego, but reverence. This is not rejection, it's return. Jung described this as shedding the persona, the identity shaped by others. When you release what dims you, you're not abandoning people. You're coming home to yourself. And what begins to enter your life now feels different, calmer, cleaner, aligned. You're not losing connection. You're finding resonance. You're not breaking hearts. You're breaking patterns. And that is liberation. Sign 7. A quiet detachment from what no longer resonates. It starts subtly, a soft emptiness. The joy you once felt in old routines begins to fade. Conversations feel hollow. Relationships lose their hold. You are not becoming numb. You are becoming clear. This detachment isn't avoidance. It's ascension. It's your soul dissolving ties that no longer serve its truth. And in that space of release, a new presence begins to rise. Still, steady, honest. You're not trying to explain yourself anymore. You're not trying to belong everywhere. You're trying to be whole. This is not disconnection. It's transformation. Jung said true growth comes not from adding, but from integrating. And integration often begins with letting go. You are being emptied, so you can be refilled. The shift may not yet be visible, but it's real. Your soul knows. The soil is being cleared for something new. The truest version of you is quietly stepping forward. This is not the end. This is the real beginning. You are not adjusting your life. You are awakening. And this moment right now, this quiet recognition is the sacred initiation you've been waiting for. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to stay present. Stay open, stay honest, because what you're stepping into isn't more. It's more real. If your spirit stirred while listening or reading this, trust that it's not coincidence. It's resonance. The next video in this series will take you deeper into this unfolding a journey of healing, clarity, and truth. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join a community committed to transformation. You're not alone. You're arriving. We'll meet again soon.